Discovered, the incredible love that transformed a feared duke after 10 years of hidden innocence. Jack Sullivan stood behind the old station at Sullivan's Auto Repair, the scent of motor oil swirling around him like the ache in his heart. Maplewood was just a speck on the map, with its charming diners and Friday night lights, but now it felt cramped, too small for the dreams he had buried. At 32, Jack was still a mechanic, just like his father, but with each passing day, the weight of family obligations crushed his spirit further. While others gathered joyfully at football games, Jack lost himself beneath the hood of broken-down cars, his spirit dimming in the ambient sound of wrenches and grinding metal. And then there was Elizabeth, the mayor's daughter, who flitted through his memories like a fleeting shadow. They shared laughter, late-night talks, dreams of tomorrow, but those dreams seemed as out of reach as the stars above. She was engaged to Marcus, an entrepreneur wrapped in privilege, leaving Jack to wonder what could have been. While the town prepared for a charity event to help the recently laid-off workers, an excited buzz filled the air. Jack felt an involuntary pull to go, a flicker of hope igniting deep within him. As he stepped through the doors of the community center, his breath caught at the sight of Elizabeth. There she stood, bright as the sun, her smile illuminating the dullness of his daily grind. Their eyes caught, and everything else faded into the background. "Jack," she called, her voice like music. The way she moved through the crowd confident, compassionate made his heart race. In that moment, standing beneath the flickering lights, something stirred within him. Maybe this night could change everything. Then came that moment when, watching her animatedly speak with others, Jack realized how much he missed her presence in his life. Their shared laughter echoed in his mind, a bittersweet reminder of what had slipped through his fingers. As they mingled, each interaction brought back memories he thought he'd locked away, the quiet exchanges, the inside jokes, and the feeling of simply being understood. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But as the evening wore on, Jack felt the familiar grip of uncertainty tighten around him. Elizabeth's laughter rang like silver chimes, but the reality of her engagement crept back in. The tension hung in the air. Their conversations danced on the line of what could be versus what was real. Jack's jaw clenched as Marcus arrived, his very presence casting a shadow over the room. Just as Jack mustered the courage to approach her, the mayor prepared to make a significant announcement about Marcus. The anticipation surged, leaving Jack teetering between hope and despair. Could love emerge from this chaos, or would the truth keep them apart? The night was full of unspoken promises, swirling around them like restless wind. Jack's heart thundered. Was this the moment everything changed, or would it simply slip away into the night, like so many dreams before? Jack's heart raced as the mayor positioned himself at the podium, his authoritative voice commanding the room. The chatter faded into silence, and all eyes turned toward the stage. Somewhere amidst the crowd, Jack felt a flicker of hope, but it was drowned by an avalanche of doubt. He couldn't ignore the bitter tang of envy as Marcus stood tall beside Elizabeth, confident and polished like the suit he wore. As the mayor began speaking, Jack's focus shifted between the crowd and Elizabeth. The way she nodded affirmatively, her eyes sparkling with admiration, made it hard for him to breathe. Memories surged her laughter as they danced barefoot in the summer grass, their shared dreams of a different future. Those moments felt like a buried treasure now, overshadowed by her engagement. Tonight, we celebrate our very own Marcus Carter. The mayor's voice broke through Jack's spiraling thoughts, pulling him back to the present. Jack's stomach twisted as he clutched the edge of a nearby table, fighting the urge to bolt. Not only is Marcus giving back to our community, the mayor continued, but he is also embarking on a project that can transform the future of Maplewood. A cheer erupted from the audience, and Jack's heart sank further. In that moment, He knew he had to speak to Elizabeth, to break the silence that had stretched between them for too long. If he didn't try now, he might lose his chance forever. With determination anchoring his steps, he pushed through the crowd, his heart echoing in his chest. When he reached her side, he was met with a friendly smile that momentarily melted his anxiety. "Jack. I didn't know you'd come. I couldn't miss it." His voice was thick with unsaid words. "Marcus has really stepped up," she said, her gaze fixed across the room on her fiancé. "This project will help so many families in town." "Yeah, it's great." The weight of her admiration for Marcus hung between them like a heavy fog. "Elizabeth, can we talk? Just for a moment?" She turned to him, finally meeting his eyes. The warmth of her gaze sent a jolt through him. "Of course, but, where?" Surrounded by their friends and family, the atmosphere felt tightly woven. "Outside." He nodded toward the doors, the promise of fresh air breathing life into his resolve. With a hesitant smile, she agreed. They stepped into the cool night, the sounds of laughter and music fading behind them. Jack leaned against the railing, gazing at the stars shining above. "I've missed talking to you." The words spilled out before he could hold them back. "I've missed you too," she replied softly, her eyes reflecting the moonlight. "But it hasn't been the same since everything changed." Jack took a deep breath, feeling the heaviness of his unspoken feelings pressing against his chest. "I know you're with Marcus. I get it, but I just wanted you to know that I've always cared about you, that I still do." His heart thudded, the air thick with uncertainty and raw emotion. Elizabeth's expression shifted, her brows furrowing as she searched his face. "Jack, it's complicated. Marcus is he as solid, you know?" "Solid, but is he what you really want?" The question slipped out, edged with desperation. The vulnerability of the moment hung thick between them, an invitation and a dare wrapped in one. Time seemed to freeze as she opened her mouth to reply, but just then, the sound of applause erupted from the community center, jolting both of them back into reality. Jack's heart raced, teetering on the edge of a revelation, standing on the brink of possibility. Could this really be a turning point for them, or was he simply chasing shadows? As Elizabeth looked back toward the doorway, Jack wondered if she would choose the safety of her present or dive into the uncertainty of what could be. The moment hung in the air, thick with unspoken choices, before everything shifted again, and their world closed in once more. What would she say? The silence enveloped them, but the weight of her words felt like they could change everything or nothing at all. The night air felt alive with unspoken words, pressing in on Jack as he watched Elizabeth's lips move, but no sound came out. Her brow knitted tighter, her expression a mix of confusion and longing. Jack's hope flickered like a candle in the wind. "Jack," she finally whispered, barely audible over the distant noise from the celebration. Her eyes searched his, reflecting a hesitation that felt all too familiar. "It's just that." He stepped closer, desperate to bridge the gap. "I don't want to lose you, Liz. It's like we used to share this connection. And now I'm standing here, wondering if it ever meant anything to you." His voice broke, revealing the depth of his longing. Elizabeth's face softened, a shadow of pain crossing her features. "It did mean something. It still does." But she hesitated again, swallowing hard. "Marcus is my future. He is stable and he cares for me. I can't just throw that away." The words hit Jack like a slap. Stable? The thought stung. But he couldn't let her see how much that hurt. "And what about us? What we had? Was it all just a phase?" "No." She reached out as if to touch him, then stopped short, conflict simmering in her eyes. "But I can't go back, Jack. I made a choice." They stood in the silence, the weight of their shared history hanging between them like a thick fog. Jack felt the chill of the night air creeping into his bones. "Just tell me, Liz. If he weren't in the picture, what would you say?" Elizabeth closed her eyes for a moment, as if trying to summon the courage to speak her heart. I don't know. I wish I knew. But there's so much at stake. I don't want to hurt him. Jack lowered his gaze, feeling the sharp sting of tears blur his vision. You're not responsible for anyone else's happiness. Just think about what you want. Please. I do think about that. Every single day. She stepped back, shaking her head. And I want to be happy. He makes me feel secure, and I can't toss that aside. The sorrow in her voice twisted inside him. Jack fought to keep his voice steady. But what about real happiness, Liz? You deserve that, too. With someone who sees you for you. Suddenly, a loud cheer echoed from inside the community center, drowning out their fragile moment. Jack turned briefly, the crowd's excitement was palpable. Marcus had stepped up to the stage again, his smile radiant under the spotlight. How can he celebrate like this? Knowing. Jack's voice was barely a whisper, the thought burning within him. I can't think about what he knows right now. Elizabeth stepped away, glancing back toward the doorway, torn between two worlds. But he's not you. Jack's voice broke, raw and vulnerable. What if there's still something between us that needs to be found? Elizabeth looked back at him, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. What if we find it, and it's too late? What then? Hope clashed with fear as Jack took a step closer, closing the distance between them, yet feeling an invisible barrier. I'd rather know I tried than spend another day wondering. Time seemed to fold in on itself. A heartbeat later, Elizabeth opened her mouth again, but before she could say a word, a flicker of movement caught Jack's eye. Stop, he said suddenly, watching as Marcus exited the community center, a knowing look on his face, scanning the quiet night. Jack's stomach lurched. Was there something brewing beneath the surface that he didn't understand? Had Marcus seen them? Elizabeth began, but the accusation in her gaze cut through the air. Let me talk to him first. What? Trust me. With that, he took off toward where Marcus stood, uncertainty and dread swirling within him. Would he confront the truth or face something far worse? What lay ahead was uncertain, and fear clawed at him, but he couldn't turn back now. The connection he felt with Elizabeth was too strong to ignore. As Jack approached Marcus, the tightness in his chest returned. The moment felt monumental, like everything could change in an instant. Would he be ready for the fallout? The drums of tension beat louder as he neared. Would they find a resolution or fracture into pieces that could never be put back together? Jack's heart raced as he closed the distance. He could see Marcus's eyes dart around, searching. Was he looking for someone? For Elizabeth? Jack swallowed hard, forcing down the panic bubbling inside him. He had to stay calm. He had to stand his ground. Marcus. Jack called, forcing the word out despite his racing heartbeat. Marcus turned, his expression shifting from surprise to a guarded neutrality. What do you want? Marcus asked, folding his arms tightly. There was an edge to his voice, like he was ready to defend his territory. Jack took a breath, calculating his next move. Can we talk? The request sounded fragile even to him, single note of tension underlining it. About what? Marcus leaned in, challenging yet curious. Are you here to stir things up? Because if this is about Elizabeth, it is about Elizabeth, Jack interrupted, his voice firmer now. But it's less about stirring up trouble and more about figuring this out. Marcus's eyes narrowed. Figure what out? Look, I know there's a lot going on, Jack said, glancing back toward Elizabeth, catching a glimpse of her standing there, worry etched across her face. But we both care about her. Can't we just talk like adults? For a moment, Jack thought Marcus might just tell him to take a hike. He could see the struggle within him. Then, a slow nod. All right. But not here. Let us step aside. They moved away from the crowd, each step weighted with unsaid thoughts. Jack squeezed his fists at his sides, anxiety threatening to take control. They found a quiet spot behind the community center, shadows settling in around them. "So what's this about, really?" Marcus asked, his voice sharper now. "You've got your past with her and you think that gives you some kind of claim?" Jack balled his fists, anger flickering in him like flames. "I don't want to claim her. But I care about her and you know she feels something for me too." "Feelings count for nothing if you can't build a life together," Marcus replied, his tone dismissive. "I provide stability. I'm everything she needs right now." "Stability?" Jack scoffed, unable to hold back. "Or a safety net? You think that's what she wants?" "There's more to happiness than just feeling safe, Marcus." "Maybe you're the one who can't see it," Marcus snapped. "You show up out of nowhere, trying to convince her to throw everything away for a fleeting moment from a past that's gone." Jack shook his head, his patience fraying. "I'm not asking her to throw anything away. I'm just asking her to consider her heart. If you truly care about her, wouldn't you want that for her?" Marcus paused, studying Jack closely. For a moment, silence filled the air, the weight of their shared determination heavy. The tension crackled, and Jack felt the churning storm of emotions as they stood there, two men on opposite sides, both wanting the same woman but coming at it from vastly different angles. "Maybe I'm not good enough for her," Marcus finally said, his voice lowering to a softer timbre. "But I want her to be happy even if that means it's with you." Jack held Marcus's gaze, surprised by the honesty that pierced through their rivalry. "You know it's not just about safety. It's love. We both know what that looks like. It's not something you can just build from boxes and schedules." As the words hung in the air between them, Jack hoped they were finally getting somewhere. But in that moment, he heard soft footsteps behind them. It was Elizabeth. The instant she appeared, the air thickened with unease. "What is going on?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jack's heart sank. The revelation they reached now trembled on the brink of chaos. He glanced at Marcus, their unspoken agreement quickly morphing into something else entirely. "Liz," he began, but the storm outside mirrored the upheaval in their hearts. Would this encounter bring clarity or push them further apart? The night had changed, and so had their lives. But at what cost? Elizabeth stood there, caught between the two men who both loved her in their own chaotic ways. The tension hung like a low fog, thickening the air around them. She could see the fire in Jack's eyes and the uncertainty in Marcus's stance. The raw emotion between them cut through the night like a blade. "What is going on?" she repeated, her tone firmer now. "Why are you two acting like this?" Jack exchanged a quick glance with Marcus. "We were just what?" Elizabeth interjected, confusion lacing her voice. "Talking about me? Look, if there is something going on, I need to know." Her heart raced, the rising feelings of dread making her stomach flip. She hadn't come here tonight to be tangled in a web of conflict. She wanted peace, but instead, it felt like she was standing in the middle of a battlefield. "It's not like that, Liz," Marcus said, trying to reassure her. "We were discussing how we feel about you." His voice cracked slightly, revealing the struggle beneath his composed exterior. "Discussing how you feel about me?" Elizabeth's brows knitted together in disbelief. "Why does it have to be a discussion? Shouldn't it just be simple?" Jack took a step closer, his voice dropping to a gentler tone. "I care about you, Liz. It's complicated, yes, but I don't want to just stand by and watch you settle for something that might not make you happy." "Settle?" Marcus's tone sharpened again. "You think she'd just settle for me, Jack? I've offered her stability, a future. How can you just waltz back in and question everything we've built?" Elizabeth's heart sank. "Can't you both see that this fighting isn't helping me? It's making it harder. I'm feeling pulled in two different directions." The vulnerability in her voice seemed to resonate, momentarily silencing the tension. Marcus's shoulders sagged as he processed her words. Jack's expression softened, his frustration giving way to understanding. "I'm not here to fight," Jack said, his tone earnest. "I'm here because I want to know how you really feel. No pressure, just the truth." Elizabeth's chest tightened as she searched for the right words. "I have feelings for both of you," she admitted, each word heavy with uncertainty. "But it's tearing me apart. I need to know if I can trust either of you." "Trust?" Marcus echoed, his voice low. "I've tried to earn your trust, Liz. I'm here every day, fighting for this life together. And yet, Jack shows up and you both act like I'm the problem." "No. That's not what this is about." Jack burst out, his frustration boiling over. "Marcus, I'm not here to replace you. But I want her to remember she deserves to be happy, not just secure." They were all standing on thin ice, and Elizabeth felt it cracking beneath her feet. "What if that happiness means something different for each of us?" she said, her voice trembling. "What if I can't choose?" Silence fell, heavy and pressing. Jack and Marcus exchanged a glance layered with unspoken emotions. Elizabeth felt their weighty gazes, possibly recognizing that even though they were battling for her heart, they too were held captive by the fear of loss. Jack took a deep breath. "Maybe we need to dig deeper. If love is worth fighting for, then let us not just play out the same script. Let us be real for all of us." Before any of them could react, the rain began to pour, soaking the earth around them. It splattered against the pavement, each drop seeming to echo the turmoil inside. The storm reflected their hearts, a tempest brewing, ready to unleash. Elizabeth looked up at the darkening clouds, feeling both anxious and empowered. It was clear that things were about to change forever, and the choice ahead felt almost monumental. "What do you mean, Jack?" she asked, searching his eyes for the answers she desperately needed. "What are you willing to do for love?" The moment hovered, charged with possibilities. And in that electric pause, Elizabeth sensed the direction of her own destiny shifting, like branches bending toward a storm. What would unfold next could alter all their lives, a revelation that might just spark a fire of change or shatter everything into pieces. Elizabeth felt the weight of their gazes, each man searching her for answers they didn't want to hear. The rain poured down harder, drenching her hair and soaking her clothes, but in that moment, she didn't care about the cold. Her heart thundered almost as loudly as the storm around them. "Jack," she began, her voice catching in her throat. "What do you really want from me? You can't just say you want me to be happy without showing me how." His eyes softened. "I want to fight for you, Liz. I've had time to think and figure out what matters most. It's you." Marcus stepped forward, his tone urgent. "You think this is easy for either of us? I've dedicated my life to building a future with you, and now he shows up, making us question everything." "You don't have to choose right now," Jack said, a calming tone in his voice. "Let us take a step back. What do you really want, Elizabeth?" The question hung in the air, heavy yet liberating. It cut through the noise of conflicting emotions in her heart. She shook her head, feeling like she was being pulled into two different worlds. "Jack, you make my heart race, but Marcus, he's stability, he's everything I've thought I wanted. I don't want to hurt either of you. But standing here, this feels impossible." The connection between all three of them was tangible, like the electricity building in the storm above, and for an instant, they stood united by raw emotion rather than opposition. A flash of lightning illuminated the dark sky, casting shadows on their faces. "You have to listen to what your heart is telling you," Marcus urged. "I know it's hard, but we can't fight this battle like we're enemies. We love you, Liz, but we're not the ones who can answer for you." Tears brimmed in Elizabeth's eyes as the clouds above released their burden. Perhaps it was the moment for her to open her heart. The tension slipped away, replaced by something gentler. She felt a flicker of hope. "I want to be honest," she said, her voice trembling. I want to explore what love could look like with both of you. But I fear the risks, the pain. Jack stepped forward again, his features earnest against the backdrop of rain. Taking risks is the only way to find out what is truly out there. I believe you should never have to settle for anything less than what makes you whole. But it feels selfish, Elizabeth said, brushing a wet strand of hair behind her ear. To have both of you when heartache seems to trail behind in the shadows. A moment of stillness fell between them, the patter of rain the only sound breaking through the night. Maybe we don't need to rush into a choice, Marcus suggested softly. What if we just take time to understand each other? To learn what love can be, without the pressure to label it. The idea lingered in the air, tentative but exciting. Could they redefine everything? Are you both open to that? Elizabeth asked, a mix of hope and fear in her voice. Can we navigate this together? As Jack and Marcus nodded, Elizabeth felt a sense of relief wash over her. Perhaps this wasn't the end of her own story, but the beginning of something that would change them all. The rain finally eased slightly, the intensity shifting to a soft drizzle. Let us take time, Jack reiterated, a smile breaking through the tension. To figure things out. Together. Just then, the storm shifted in tone, as if nature itself was acknowledging her unexpected resolution. But beneath that fragile hope, Elizabeth felt the weight of shadows still lurking. Then what happens if one of us gets hurt? She whispered, the uncertainty creeping back in. The question lingered like damp air, heavy and filled with untold possibilities for the three of them. Choices loomed ahead, fresh and unknown, hinting at a tumultuous journey yet to come. What would they discover about love, about each other as they ventured into this uncharted territory? Elizabeth stood in the rain, her heart racing as she processed what had just unfolded between them. Each man offered something she craved, Jack with his wild spirit and passion, and Marcus with his unwavering commitment and stability. They stood close, the warmth of their presence creating a bubble against the chill of the storm. What if we just took things slow? She suggested, tentatively. What if we go on small dates, maybe just hang out, see how it feels? Jack's eyes brightened, there was an eagerness that melted some of the tension between them. I'd love that. Just us getting to know each other again. I think that might work, Marcus added, though his voice was tinged with caution. But we have to be honest, right? With ourselves and each other. Absolutely, Elizabeth responded, relief flooding her. We can be transparent about what we're feeling, no matter how messy it gets. As they talked, the storm's grip began to ease, revealing a quieter, softer rain. The rhythmic sound was like a soothing lullaby, calming their chaotic emotions just a little. Maybe we can start with lunch? Jack offered, breaking through the silence. I know this amazing place down by the river. You mean that little cafe with the stained glass windows? Elizabeth asked, her lips curling into a smile. I've always wanted to go there. Then it's settled. Jack said, enthusiasm evident in his voice. Marcus shifted, his expression thoughtful. I'm not one to just sit back and wait. Can we agree to share our feelings as they develop? No assumptions, no expectations. His brows knitted together, revealing the worry that still lingered. Of course, Elizabeth assured him, feeling comforted by the groundedness of Marcus's approach. It's only fair that we keep the lines of communication open. Jack nodded, though a glimmer of uncertainty flickered in his eyes. And if it gets complicated? His question slipped through like a whisper, hanging in the air between them. Elizabeth's heart sank a little, the thought of complications was daunting. Each step forward seemed charged with possibility and potential heartache. We face it together, she said, anchoring her resolve. No matter how hard it is. The desire to forge ahead fueled her voice. With that agreement, an ember of excitement ignited within her. A new journey lay ahead. But doubt hovered, a reminder of the delicate balance they were trying to maintain. They all shared a tentative smile, the rain finally subsiding to a soft mist. The world felt fresh, like a clean slate ready for them to etch new memories upon. As they turned to leave, Elizabeth felt the first stirrings of hope swelling within her. They might be navigating dangerous waters, but there was something about embracing change that made her feel alive. Just as they stepped away from the perimeter of the storm, Jack paused. "One more thing," he said, glancing back at Elizabeth, his expression serious. "You know what I'm hoping for and what I think we can become together. Just promise me you'll be honest if things start to feel rough." Their eyes locked, and in that moment, Elizabeth understood the gravity of his words. She didn't just want to explore, she wanted to protect this fragile connection. "I promise, Jack." But as they walked through the drenched streets, a thought nagged at her. What if the harmony they were building was just a temporary illusion, waiting to be shattered? The storm may have faded, but the shadows of the heart loomed large. And as they stepped into the warmth of the café, Elizabeth couldn't shake the worry. Were they opening a door to exhilarating love, or were they inadvertently weaving themselves into a bigger web of heartache? What awaited them on this path of exploration, and could it truly withstand the storm? The café was a cozy retreat from the damp chill, the wooden beams overhead gleaming with warmth. Elizabeth inhaled the rich aroma of coffee and baked goods, feeling a wave of comfort wash over her. Jack and Marcus settled into a booth, each sporting cheerful expressions that were dimmed ever so slightly by the back of her mind whispering concerns of what might come. "Coffee for everyone?" Jack chimed, already grinning as he glanced over the menu. Elizabeth felt her heart flutter at that spark. The spirit he carried, uncontained and infectious, lifted her mood a bit more. "Yes. And maybe some pastries?" she suggested, her excitement bubbling up. She felt a flicker of that familiar lightness around Jack, the kind that brought out a playful side in her. Marcus smiled more subtly, a contrast to Jack's blunt enthusiasm, but there was warmth in his gaze. "I'll take a black coffee," he said, his voice calm like the steady beat of a drum. "And maybe just a croissant." As Jack bounced up to place their order, Elizabeth felt the air thicken with expectation. She and Marcus were left in a quiet moment. A flurry of emotions darted behind Marcus's eyes, a mix of concern and curiosity coursing through him. "Are you okay?" Elizabeth asked softly, her fingers tracing the rim of her cup. It was a question that hung delicately between them. "Yeah, just trying to wrap my head around all of this," he confessed. He leaned in, lowering his voice a bit as if not to disturb the cozy atmosphere. "I want to make sure we're doing this right." His earnestness hit Elizabeth, igniting a warmth in her heart. She wanted this too, the idea of nurturing this fragile connection. "I think taking it slow is good. Just keep it simple." Marcus nodded, though the worry still lingered behind his eyes. "It's just, when feelings are involved, everything can get so complicated." Before she could respond, Jack returned, arms laden with steaming cups and pastries. "I hope you're ready for the best coffee you've ever had," he said with a grin, placing the items on the table as if he were showcasing a prized treasure. "Let us see about that." Elizabeth laughed, her heart feeling lighter. They settled in for warmth, coffee, and quiet conversation. Small laughs floated in the air, weaving an easy atmosphere around them. Jack shared funny stories about his recent adventures, his laughter filling the space as Marcus chimed in with his own witty comebacks, creating a delightful banter. But as the minutes ticked by, Elizabeth felt the weight of their unspoken truths pressing closer. They shared surface conversation about the weather and local events, but a deeper current swirled beneath. "What's that look for?" Jack asked suddenly, his gaze piercing yet playful. He leaned back, arms crossed. Elizabeth hesitated, torn between her desire for transparency and the knowledge that some of her thoughts might unsettle the balance they were trying to create. "I guess I'm just wondering about everything. This feels different, and I want it to work." But Marcus leaned forward, his voice low and reassuring. "It's okay to be uncertain. We've all got feelings to sort through, and that's part of doing this together." "That's the spirit," Jack interjected, leaning in with that infectious grin again. "No pressure. Just each other, right?" But her heart didn't quiet. If anything, it felt more restless. They were forming connections, yet something nagged at her. What if they were rewriting rules only to create new pain? As her thoughts spiraled into a maze of calamity, she caught Jack's gaze. The way he looked at her with an intensity that made her heart race sent shivers down her spine. Could they truly figure this out together? The cafe door swung open, and chill air breezed in. A figure stepped in, shaking off raindrops. Elizabeth glanced over, her stomach twisting as the newcomer's eyes scanned the room, landing right on her. Her breath caught in her throat. What was he doing here? This was complicating everything. Could one unexpected entrance shatter the fragile balance they were trying to build? The door swung wider, and in stepped Andrew, the very person Elizabeth had been desperately trying to avoid since that night, the night everything changed. His dark hair was damp, framing a face that was both beautiful and brooding. Time had sculpted him into someone even more striking than she remembered. She felt a jolt of panic flicker through her, drowning out the warmth of the cafe. "Elizabeth," he called, his voice smooth but laced with a hint of uncertainty. She could see him starting to walk toward her, as if pulled by an invisible string. Her heart hammered in her chest, each beat echoing the tension thickening the air around them. Jack and Marcus turned to look, their smiles disappearing as they registered the weight of the moment. Jack's expression morphed from playful to wary, while Marcus's brow furrowed, concern creeping across his features. Elizabeth's instincts screamed at her to run, to hide behind her coffee and croissant, but the room felt like it had shrunk around her. What is he doing here? She thought, anxiety wrapping around her like a vice. Andrew, she managed, her voice coming out barely above a whisper. She felt the intensity of his gaze like a light burning through her. Memories of laughter twisted into images of heartbreak. "May I?" He gestured slightly toward the empty seat at their booth, his tone strangely measured. She could see how he hesitated, gauging their reactions. It was like he was afraid he had crashed a party he wasn't invited to. Jack's shoulders squared slightly, protective instincts kicking in. "This is kind of a private moment," he said, attempting to keep things light. His underlying tension was apparent, and Marcus shot him a glance as if to say, "Wait." But Elizabeth shook her head, a flicker of resolve sparking within her. The cafe felt like a bubble, both inviting and suffocating. "No, it's okay," she said, surprising even herself with the steadiness in her voice. "He can sit." Andrew eased into the booth, the divide between them palpable. The air felt charged as silence fell, each of them caught in a web of unspoken words. "I didn't expect to find you here," he said, his eyes darting between her and the others. "I thought maybe you'd want to talk." "Talk." The word sent tremors through her, stirring old fears and buried hopes. How could they just talk? So much had happened, so much left unsaid. Did he even know the weight of what had been left behind? "We have nothing to discuss," she said, her voice stronger now. "Not after everything." "Elizabeth," he began, but the softness in his eyes was agony. The vulnerability that had been absent during their last encounter now shone through like a glimmering, hopeful thread. "Why now?" she demanded, her heart racing as she realized he had come to reclaim something that once seemed lost. Why now, when things finally felt easier? Jack and Marcus observed, uncertain. Marcus's hand reached across the table slightly, a move of support that brought her a shred of comfort. "You don't have to answer everything," he seemed to convey with his eyes. Meanwhile, Andrew looked at her, a mixture of regret and longing swirling in his gaze. "I came because I couldn't stay away any longer. I've been thinking about you. About us. I owe you an apology." The tension in the booth was thick enough to slice through. Elizabeth's heart battled between longing and resentment. His apology felt like a double-edged sword, it could either heal or deepen the wound that never really closed. Shivers ran through her, leaving her breathless. "How do we even begin to fix this?" she murmured, barely audible, but the desperation clung to her words. And from the corner, Jack watched, brows furrowed, while Marcus remained the steady anchor beside her, ready to catch her if she fell. Yet the storm was rising, and in the swirling chaos, Elizabeth felt the ground beneath her shifting. As Andrew opened his mouth to speak again, Elizabeth knew that whatever came next would change everything. Would she let history repeat itself, or would she forge a new path forward? And just as uncertainty loomed, another figure peeked through the glass door, this time a familiar face that made Elizabeth's heart stop once more. With the arrival of yet another unexpected guest tipped the scales for better or worse. The cafe pulsed with a nervous energy as Elizabeth watched Andrew take a deep breath, ready to share whatever burden had led him back into her life. She felt the weight of their past pressing down, but this moment wasn't only about them. Jack and Marcus also lingered there, the unresolved tension thickening the air. "Look, I know I messed up," Andrew started, his voice trembling with sincerity. "I've spent too long thinking about how I let you go. I was scared I didn't understand what we had until it was too late." Jack's fists clenched slightly. He was ready for this moment, the truth of it, Andrew's return that could either heal or tear them further apart. Marcus's grip on Elizabeth's hand tightened, grounding her, the warmth reminding her of the steadiness she craved. "Scared?" Elizabeth echoed, her heart racing. "You had every chance to reach out, Andrew. I was left picking up the pieces." "I know," he admitted, a flicker of pain shadowing his features. "I take responsibility for that. But now, I see what we had and I want to make things right. Can we at least talk about it?" The air crackled with tension, and Elizabeth felt herself oscillating between anger and longing. "Talk?" She scoffed, memories rushing back like a tidal wave, moments of laughter intertwined with heartache. "We're already talking, and look where it got us before. I don't expect everything to be fixed all at once, but I need you to know how much you mean to me." Andrew's voice softened. "I don't want you to settle for anything less than you deserve." A pang of nostalgia hit her, making her stomach churn. She remembered the joy he'd brought her, but she also recalled the heartache that had followed. "Liz," Jack interjected gently, his eyes searching hers. "You have a choice. This is your future." The sincerity in his voice connected with her heart. "No matter what Andrew says, remember who you are now, what you fought for. And I want you to focus on that," Marcus added, his calm presence wrapping around her like a comforting blanket. "It's okay to explore your feelings for both of us, but remember that this moment is about what you truly want." Time slowed as she processed their words, the affection and support emanating from both men. They believed in her, and she felt the safety of their commitment swirling around her. "Can you understand why I push back, Andrew?" Elizabeth asked, courage swelling inside her. "I don't want to reopen old wounds for a relationship that nearly broke me." The room fell silent, the reality of her heartbreak hanging in the air. Andrew's expression softened. "I can. And I'd never want to hurt you again." Jack's brow furrowed, but Elizabeth held up her hand, asking for his patience. "Before I decide anything, I need to hear the truth. What do you really want from me, Andrew? Is it just an idea, or do you truly feel something real?" He hesitated, wrestling with his emotions. "I realize now I want to build something strong, something we didn't have before. I've changed. It took losing you to see that." The truth of his admission rang through her, but so did the voices of Jack and Marcus, reminders of the connections they had formed in these recent days. "Whatever you decide, it's your choice," Jack urged, looking firmly but compassionately into her eyes. Marcus nodded. "Your happiness is what matters. You can take your time." "Then I need time," Elizabeth declared, feeling clarity wash over her like a gentle tide. "I need to embrace every possibility, to explore all this without pressure. I want to find what feels right, for me. Whatever that looks like, I'm here," Jack said, lifting her spirits as he leaned closer, his support like a lighthouse on a stormy night. While Andrew remained silent, Elizabeth could sense a sincerity behind his eyes, but the pressure to choose felt suffocating. She turned back to her past, but felt the roots of her present secure by Jack and Marcus, grounding her in a reality that no longer needed the weight of hidden pain. "I'm open to exploring it all, but you both need to know this will take time." Time is precisely what I'll respect, Andrew agreed, though his voice had turned softer, revealing vulnerability. Thank you for coming, Andrew, Elizabeth said gently. But for now, I want to focus on being happy. It's going to take time for everyone. With that, a sense of relief nestled in the air, and she felt a rush of gratitude for the clarity that had emerged. The others understood now they were stepping into a new landscape of connections and discoveries. Just then, the cafe door creaked open again, pulling their attention. A familiar figure strode in, the energy shifting palpably in the room. It was Sophie, Elizabeth's best friend, bright-eyed and full of vitality. Liz. She called out, her spirit a contrast to the heavy atmosphere, marching straight toward their table. I heard you were here. Party's outside. Andrew turned away, the moment seeming to slip through his fingers, and suddenly the weight of unresolved feelings felt lighter but still vital. In the background, Jack and Marcus exchanged glances, sharing an unspoken understanding. Sophie continued, a radiant smile splitting her face. Don't tell me you've been holed up in here without me. This is your night, girl. You're amazing, you know that. Elizabeth laughed, her heart lifting with the fresh energy that Sophie brought. Maybe this was the moment to head outside, into a realm of new connections and adventures. Thanks, Sophie, she said, the tension melting away a little more. You're right. I'm ready to face whatever comes next. The four of them gathered, and as Elizabeth stepped into the embrace of friendship, the pull of love surrounded her, an acceptance of what had passed and an eagerness for what lay ahead. Here, on the edge of uncertainty, she felt alive, the storm having calmed into a gentle breeze, ready to ignite the adventure that was waiting for her and the connections she would create. Now, it was time to embrace this fresh beginning full of hope, laughter, and possibility, and just as they gathered their things, Elizabeth turned to the universe, heart open, prepared for whatever winds would carry her forward with grace. This was, after all, a chance to forge a new path, filled with unexpected joy and endless promise. Together, now, as the night encircled them, every heartbeat resonated with shared connection and renewed spirit, a true beginning like none other. Before you go, here's the moment to step forward and make a difference. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. The support makes all the difference. Comment below with your thoughts on this transformation and what you hope for Elizabeth's new adventure. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. True fans understand the importance of supporting this channel through these actions.